should move it. Do you think we should move the speaker closer? Because in the screen they're so tiny and kind of like hidden. Do you think next time we should move the speaker where this is because they're so tiny and hidden on the screen? Yeah, the speaker. No, the speaker, like the lectern. We just need a spotlight or something. They should be in the middle though, since they're the feature. Oh. Yeah. It's just usually like the speaker is the head of the thing, right? Like the lectern. Oh yeah. Oh, they do need an aisle, yeah.
Thank you, Jessica, for the music. Let's start today in this somewhat different space, but it's the same space we've been in for years, just slightly different arrangement. We'll start with our Here Together. It's on the back of your order of service, I think.
Okay, everyone.
Oh, yes.
Here together, it's on the back of our order of service. Two, three. We are here together in this holy moment, and we're grateful
Welcome and good morning. We are the Universalist Unitarian Community of Halifax, both in the sanctuary and on Zoom. And hopefully those of you can see some of the people on Zoom. My name's Margaret Galbraith, and my pronouns are she and her. I will be your lay leader this morning. Our order of service and presentation will be by the Reverend Meg Roberts. No. Sorry, I didn't read this after I wrote it, I guess. Meg Roberts is doing the presentation, not the order of service. She is with the Beacon Unitarians from the Vancouver area. And it's part of the Meaning Making in Liminal Times project, a worship and adult education collaboration sponsored by the Saskatoon Unitarians. It was recorded for the 16 other Canadian Unitarian Universalist congregations that are participating in the Meaning Making project. Although the stated goal of this project is to join with other Canadian congregations to explore 6 important questions through worship and conversation, another aim is to experiment with new ways of doing church. Saskatoon Unitarians and the other participants in the experiment are hoping to demonstrate the possibilities of collaboration between congregations. Together, we can do so much more than any individual congregation can do on their own. Here at UUCH, we are a progressive spiritual community. We recognize that the truths of the universe are too complex to be summed up in any one religious tradition's dogma. Instead of prescribed beliefs, here we focus on relationships, community, responsible action in this life. We draw meaning and wisdom from many sources: nature, science, the sage teachings of old, and the awe we have for the great mystery itself. We offer our affirmation of the inherent worth and dignity of all, and we respect the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. Currently, we are a lay-led congregation, although I've heard rumors that there may be a new minister, but I still don't know hardly anything about him. I was hoping Pam would be here now to explain this, but t'other Pam.
There is some, yeah.
Joe?
Oh, Joe, right.
Pam's online. She's online.
Is Pam online? Because we haven't actually officially got the announcements yet, so we can have time in the announcements moment to talk
Sure.
about what's happening. Okay. Our mission is to provide a community that nurtures personal and spiritual growth, practices inclusiveness, celebrates diversity, and affirms individual and collective commitment to community service and social justice. We especially welcome anyone who's new or newish. I can bring you around a microphone if you'd care to introduce yourself. I have a microphone right here I can bring you. Okay. If you're not already receiving notifications from our church and would like to hear about our activities, send an email to president@uuch.ca. Those of you here in person are welcome to join us afterwards for coffee or tea or water or whatever you'd like, conversation. And on Zoom, people can stay around for an after-service chat. For all of you of all ages, we acknowledge that not everyone participates in worship the same way. If you need to move or stand or sit on the floor, whatever works. Jessica Friesen is our music director. She's way over there now.
No.
And Faith will give our acknowledgement today. The opening words for our service. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life.
There we go. Can you hear me now? Let us now acknowledge that we are meeting here in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded ancestral lands of the Mi'kmaq people. The peace and friendship treaties signed in this territory many years ago still govern this land and remind us that we are all treaty people. We are still committed to collaboratively move forwards truth, reconciliation, and equity, not only for the Indigenous people, but also for the Black and other marginalized groups with whom we share this land. And this land we all share is now suffering from climate change. Let us not forget that we must work together to address this crisis, not just for the people who live here, but for the rest of the web of life. Among the human part of the web, more and more people are recognizing the dangers of climate crisis, and more are acting together to push forward the changes that are needed. Here in the Maritimes, faith communities are working together, such as Kairos, a national ecumenical organization, primarily Christian, is working in Atlantic Canada with Muslims and Unitarians on climate action. And the Ecology Action Centre is encouraging faith communities in Nova Scotia to form an interspirit climate group. The Ecology Action Centre is also working in partnership with Halifax Public Libraries, and Everyone Every Day to create an Earth Fest for 5 days leading up to Earth Day on April 22nd. They're looking for other organizations to join them in setting up workshops, discussion groups, and activities promoting climate action, including another parade celebrating Mother Earth. Look for more information in the next couple of months.
We'll have our first song for this morning, congregational songs as they're called in the Saskatoon Unitarians. For the Earth Forever Turning, number 163 in your gray books.
If you feel like standing, go ahead, but you can sit, you can do whatever you want. (163) For the earth forever turning, for the skies for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful songs of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures in their silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we our joyful songs of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons' harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise of thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the homes that give us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
I now have a reading from Hundreds and Thousands, the Journals of Emily Carr. On March 9th of 1934, in her journal, Emily Carr recorded, "Dear Mother Earth, I think I have always specially belonged to you. I have loved from babyhood to roll upon you, to lie with my face pressed right down onto you in my sorrows. I love the look of you, and the smell of you, and the feel of you. When I die, I should like to be in you, uncoffined, unshrouded, the petals of flowers against my flesh, and you covering me up." Now we'll go to the YouTube video, which has the following 3 sections of our service. Part 1 of the reflections is by Meg Roberts. The song, and then the song "I Come to You, My Friend" by Carolyn McDade, which is sung by a choir with the words on the screen. So you
I'm
can
not
all
singing it?
join in, but you can sing it as well.
Oh, I thought I was doing the whole thing. Sorry.
You don't read my emails. And then anyone can sing along, and Jessica knows it, so you can sing along too. And then there's part 2 of the reflections after that. So you may want to turn your chairs because it's about half an hour that we have on the video screens.
Social sciences and from our own Unitarian Universalist tradition. First, I believe it's vital to address how we're feeling. My colleague from Saskatoon, Reverend Karen Fraser-Giblets, who's also an arts therapist, recommended this book to me, Emotional Resilience in the Era of Climate Change, by psychologist Leslie Davenport. There's a term to describe our climate change distress, solastalgia. It was coined by Glenn Albrecht from Murdoch University in Australia. Solastalgia combines solace and nostalgia. Nostalgia is about our homesickness when we feel separated from our home. Solastalgia means being homesick even when you have not left home. So, when you experience the impacts of the wildfires last summer, if you felt fear, anger, anxiety, that was solastalgia. When you hear almost half the world's species are seeing rapid decline, if you feel heartbreak, that's solastalgia. Or when you feel the natural environment changing around you, food supply, water, earth, air, and you feel overwhelmed and wonder, what can you possibly do that can make a difference? That's solastalgia. Our sense of home, of belonging, is a very powerful psychological need. It's supposed to be where you feel safe. We each feel the impacts differently, depending on what's happening to us, and those we love, and the places where we live, and what stress and trauma has gone on in our lives and is going on. When we address how we are feeling in our hearts, minds, and bodies, we can become more empowered to adapt to what's happening and effect positive change. When we acknowledge we are not alone, and this is a collective problem, we can seek out others for mutual support and collaborative action. If we don't acknowledge and resolve how we are feeling, there's a danger. Our distress can be buried like a landmine, and as Leslie in her book explains, when triggered, it erupts in distorted ways. Discarded grief can sink in depression. Suppressed fear can disguise itself as anger. Leslie lays it out this way. How can we open our eyes, hearts, and minds to the losses associated with climate change without sinking into despair? By living through the grief and trusting we will not break, even when our hearts do. By living our lives according to our deepest values. By becoming part of the solution. Grief flows, and when we emerge on the other side of the process, we are often clearer, stronger, and more resilient than before. Steve Running, Regent Professor at the University of Montana, developed the model 5 Stages of Climate Grief, building on the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I imagine a number of you are familiar with those stages. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. We may feel denial in ourselves or those around us. Denial allows time, however, to build internal resources to go through this into the next stage, as long as we don't get stuck in it. We may feel anger at those causing the biggest impacts on our climate, or maybe indignant at having to change our desirable and often hard-earned lifestyles, wanting to visit those places we've always longed to go to, or visit relatives that we haven't seen for a while because of the pandemic. Alternatively, we may feel powerless. Then anger can fuel us to feel stronger. It's what we do with the anger that matters. Stage 3 is bargaining. We may grasp just at positive news or minimize the impacts. Or we think we are exempt from the most significant effects. We can just ride it out. This stance could come from a place of unexamined class and racial privilege. Various studies show how climate change has a greater impact on people of color, low-income families, and indigenous communities, causing unjust financial burdens, increased health risks, and social and cultural disruptions. We can help each other examine these underlying biases. Our increased understanding can play a significant role in correcting social imbalance and generating fair and reasonable solutions. Stage 4, depression. When we feel inundated by the scope of the problem, we can feel hopeless, as though any meaningful change is impossible. An example Leslie gives is how some climate scientists have even begun describing pre-traumatic stress disorder. They experience overwhelm and intrusive thoughts when they look to a future that promises increasing environmental catastrophes. Lastly, stage 5, acceptance. Stephen Running describes acceptance as a stage where people calmly acknowledge the realities of climate change and begin exploring options for participating in clean energy solutions. Like any grieving process, we move back and forth among these various stages and feelings. At least these stages give us some internal roadmap and normalize how we're feeling. It helps to acknowledge our grieving. We know that grieving is painful. It's also transformative. As we look at old beliefs and habits, we free up emotional, mental, and physical energy to pursue new possibilities and take positive action. In the words of Thich Nhat Hanh, a pioneer of ecological Buddhism, there is suffering, fear, and anger inside us, and when we take care of it, we are taking care of the world. While we move around in our grieving, there's another process that will support us. It's developing resilience. Leslie Davenport, in her book, explains, resilience is our capacity to face and handle life's challenges with flexibility and creativity, and it relies on a set of skills and perceptions that can be cultivated with practice. She outlines some useful tools that help build resiliency and cultivate a compassionate approach to going through our climate-induced grieving. The tools are trust, curiosity, somatic awareness, meaning body awareness, knowing the story, and creative expression. Trust in the healing that comes from grief and the natural flow of emotions. It may help to recall a time when you came through a significant loss to remind you of your capacity. You can tolerate a full range of intense emotions and get help and support. Remember that grief is a form of love. We grieve what has made us feel most deeply connected. That can help us embrace all of life, including both joy and sorrow. Bring curiosity to your reactions. Leslie suggests, try an experiment. Meet all your feelings as though they are unfamiliar guests in your home. Greet them and try to find out all about them. What are they saying? What do they want? This approach creates a welcome sense of inner spaciousness because one part of you acts as host and the other part experiences the feelings. As we build our core emotional strength, we're less prone to be overwhelmed by our feelings or push them away, because if we do push them away, they can intensify. So welcome them in. This may seem like a fanciful approach to some of you, but it actually works. Body awareness. When you're faced with climate change and you react, Notice how it manifests in your body. Is there a heaviness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a clenching of your jaw? This shows you where to bring soothing and gentleness. Perhaps place a hand over your heart or your belly. Breathe deeply. It helps you to relax and be more present in this moment. Knowing the story. Where are the beliefs that narrate your grief? It's my fault. It's someone else's fault. I deserve this. I don't deserve this. We're out of time. I can't bear it. We're doomed. I'm too small to make a difference. Although there may be elements of truth, we tend to amplify or minimize, or add layers of self-judgment. We may filter out positive aspects of the situation. We can begin by questioning our own thoughts. Is what I'm saying to myself really accurate? What else is true? I can learn and gain strength from overcoming challenges. I have something to contribute. Positive change is possible. I'm willing to try. We're looking to create a more balanced story. Lastly, the tool of creative expression. If we become immobilized with our grief, we can turn to rituals, including music and storytelling. We can express our feelings through writing, drawing, movement, and we can take action. So whether we spend time with the creative expression of others, like Emily Carr's, or initiate our own, these help us move through a time so that we can rebuild. When we do this, in ways that align with our deepest values, we can build tremendous strength and resilience. As Leslie says, with climate change, we can shift from the disempowered position of what have we done to a dispassionate, what can we do? As an example of creative expression, she tells a wonderful story of success. Peter, a sculptor in Alberta, inherited his family farm. It sits atop a deep basin of natural gas. The oil industry has been trying to access that land for decades. Because there are eminent domain issues, meaning the government has the right to access and acquire private land for public purposes, Peter took his creative skills and built a number of outdoor sculptures created specifically for the contours of that land. He then registered his entire property as a work of art, claiming copyright over the land itself. So far it's worked. He's been able to keep his family's land. It's an example of someone taking their specific skills, talents, and imagination with the resources available and affecting change. Think about ways that you have already cultivated resiliency. We learned so much during the pandemic. We have a foundation to build on. Consider now how you might adapt any of the tools that Leslie Davenport offers, or perhaps there are other tools that have helped you in the past that can help you now with solastalgia. One way I helped build my resiliency is through singing. I'm part of that worldwide network called the Sacred Wet Singers. I want to play one of our songs written by Carolyn McDade because it expresses why singing is one of those resiliency practices for me. If you know it, or feel comfortable after listening to it for a bit, please feel free to join in singing at any point. The lyrics will be on the slides. The song is What can balance solastalgia, our climate-induced grief? Madeline Ostrander, an environmental journalist, in an interview on CBC Radio The Current, explained Glenn Albrecht, besides coming up with the word solastalgia, also came up with another word called soliphilia. Soliphilia. It's about that shared sense of joy and unity and connectedness and the solace that we find when we come together and try to find things to protect our communities and our homes. She then pointed out an interesting thing. One thing that I found in talking with scholars who deal with grief is that grief has often been the territory of religions. But fewer and fewer Americans and Canadians are part of organized religion these days. And so I think we need to create more shared spaces for people to talk about grief, she said. Grief isn't actually an individual thing that you should deal with on your own, with your therapist, or only with your friends, or only in your own particular space. It's a shared feeling. And I think processing it collectively is actually really important. We are in an ideal position among the world religions to respond to this. As Canadian Unitarians and Universalists, we envision a world in which our interdependence calls us to love and justice. Interdependence is key, both theologically and practically. We name it as part of our core principles. We covenant to affirm and promote respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. What would it be like to craft a different set of green principles, with that principle being the first one that leads the way to the rest? I'm not suggesting that we change our existing 8 principles, but to do this instead as a spiritual exercise. It might remind us to see the worth and dignity of other parts of the web of existence. We could link our spiritual growth with our growing understanding of other species and ecological systems, learning from science and from indigenous communities and their worldviews and practices. Our love for our planet then inspires us to act for justice, for its health and well-being. Interdependence is a foundational value in our response to climate change. What is your understanding of interdependence? How does it feel? Or what does it look like? Where do you go to feel the deep connection and solace of soliphilia? Tyler, can you bring up that slide for us? This is a cluster of trees in a park near my home where I spend time. There are 9 of those trees that come from one solid common base. Their majesty towers over me. Their root systems are intertwined. When I'm there, I reflect on the way that these trees relate to each other and the other beings above and below ground. Some are supportive relationships, and others may be more adversarial. I feel a sense of nurturing from those trees, and as I lean against them, I feel their strength. Thanks, Tyler. As part of developing resiliency for this climate emergency, it's indispensable to name our values that inspire and guide us. From those, we can then develop practices for cultivating the values and how we live them. For me, these values include interdependence, love, justice, diversity, mindfulness, gratitude. Several times a week, I take time to list those things that I'm grateful for. What if I became more intentional to include other parts of the web of life in that practice? Thank you, Earth. Thank you for being our home. As I learn more about interdependence from science, my mindfulness practice while I'm out walking will be opened to that interrelatedness. A loving kindness meditation includes all my relations. As Unitarian Universalist communities, we will discern what is our role during this time, the values that guide us, the practices that we create to cultivate those values. What strengths do we have that we will offer? What energy and resources can we commit? Each person and congregation will be different. As I was reading Leslie Davenport's book, I could envision possible responses. We have the skills to offer circles of listening and compassion for each other and those beyond our walls who are feeling nostalgia. To include in that sharing our solophilia, our joy, our sense of connectedness with the beings and places of this planet. Since dealing with grief has been part of the role of religious communities, what would it be like to create and share rituals that help people process what they're feeling? I know that there are resources out there to guide us, such as Joanna Macy's The Work That Reconnects. Through sharing and ritual, we can build our resiliency together. When there are climate crises in our regions, our communities can reach out and offer places of refuge and care. We can work with our local governments and emergency preparedness agencies to figure out the best role that we can play, given our resources and capacities. Various congregations have done this work already, and we can learn from them and those who know effective ways to engage with the larger community. Sometimes we funnel our energies in larger ways, sometimes in smaller ways, both as individuals and as congregations. All of these ways can help. In wrapping up, I come back to the email that I mentioned at the beginning. That morning, I applied the tools that I'm learning. I was able to pause, take in a deep breath, and notice how my body is feeling. I was able to notice my reactions and my thoughts. Because I was feeling too pressed for time, I committed to respond instead that evening when I had the time. And that's what I did. In my submission, I grounded what I wrote in the fact that as a Unitarian minister, I believe in the interdependence of all existence. It felt good to shift the energy away from self-criticism and stress, and instead practice my belief in justice. State what I want my government to do in response to climate change. Bringing curiosity and compassion to myself, deciding on a plan of action and going through it. Taking this as an opportunity to deepen my resilience, so I can touch my world with love once again. I'll ask Tyler to bring up the slide to end my reflection with the words of Unitarian minister and theologian James Freeman Clark. Love is the spirit of life and makes all things live. So might it be, because we make it so.
We have another hymn now, a meditation hymn, Filled with Loving Kindness, number 1031 in the Teal book, which we can sit meditatively as we sing this together.
We're going to sing this 3 times, 1031. First verse, may I be filled. Second time, may you be filled. Third time, may we be filled. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
And now we'll take the time in our service to reflect on our joys and sorrows, a time set apart to honor the sorrows and joys that you, the members and friends of this congregation, are living, and to acknowledge the mutual support of our community. I'll light a candle here. Is this on? Yep. This first candle is for all those in the room or online or in your thoughts who are feeling emotionally sorrowful, deprived, suffering from financial, emotional, physical issues. Now I'll light a second one for the large and small joys that we don't speak of often. Now, if anyone would like to come forward to light a candle to share a joy or a sorrow.
My thoughts are with Glenda Bett. She ended up in hospital 2 Sundays ago and is still there. I think I tried to call a few times lately and haven't gotten there, but they keep putting connecting me to her phone. She has something called vasculitis, which is inflammation of the blood vessels And they are giving her all kinds of tests to find out where it comes from her previous kidney function, but where is it now? So she's been having a hard time. She asked us to light a candle and to send good vibes her way. She's in the infirmary. I asked her about visits, and she said nobody should be coming to the hospital right now because they're working very hard with COVID and the other two. So, but she's happy to talk on the phone, I think. So anyway, thoughts for Glenda. And the other one is for my friend Jimmy, whose whole family is going through a hard time. Thank you.
This is a joy I want to share with you. It's my little great-grandson, Alexander Perlinger. Every day he comes up with something new. And he has learned to sing. Very few babies at his age can sing, and he does. And that is the joy I want to share with you.
Thank you, Barbara. I'll light a candle for Alexander. For those who don't know, this is the song that Alexander was singing.
Alexander picked this song up words ago.
Yes, he learned it words and all. Are there any other joys or sorrows for anyone online?
Thank you. I guess concern is the word. I have a friend I've had since the 80s, and she lives in Cape Breton. To my knowledge, she's not yet been dug out.
Oh, my goodness.
And she has severe COPD. So I'm worrying a lot. I was planning to go visit, but I seem to have picked the worst timing. So I'm just hoping that she gets dug out soon.
There's more snow now due on Tuesday.
That's right.
Oh.
If you could light one for me, anyone. My sister, oh, they can hear me in here. My sister has been sick for like a week or two, and she's still like, it's a throat thing. So, and the hospital wouldn't take her in. They had no appointments. And they're closed on the weekends. Small town. So if you, yeah, thanks for lighting one for my sister.
And Riley's sister, too.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's Riley's sister. Sorry, Riley.
This is not a joy, it's only a fact that I have completed my 90th year. I'm 90 years old and still happy to be here.
Happy to have you. This one actually is easier than when it works. It's not, no, it's totally.
that all the annual general meetings and conferences and things that are happening, sorry, you know, in the this past week and in the weeks to come, that, you know, people of good faith will come up with good ideas, and hopefully we can change the world. And the environmental crisis, you know, being one aspect. Thank you.
It is these joys and sorrows, both those acknowledged here this morning and those held in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, that weave us together in the interdependent fabric of community. Now our offertory. Your reminder that the ongoing functions of this congregation require your support in however you can manage. If you can offer financial support, if you can contribute cash in our collection plate, that's great. If you use an envelope, if you want to get a tax receipt for it.
Or pre-authorized giving.
A pre-authorized.
Giving.
Oh, yes, it's part of your annual pledge. And then you can also donate by sending a contribution to the treasurer at uuch.ca. Our funds this time are going to the, we don't know, whatever you want to, either the general church funds or the Saturday brunch, which is a wonderful event every Saturday, entirely managed by UUCH volunteers and friends.
Except if people aren't using envelopes, they're not choosing. So we need to specify each Sunday which it's going to be. For the loose change, right?
That's right. Marilyn's reminding me we do need to specify what the loose change will be going to. So I'm going to decide it's going to the church funds. Quite arbitrary. Somewhere we have it written down, but we don't have it in front of us this morning, and no one can remember. If you want to contribute your time and your talents as well, there's always committees listed in our monthly newsletter, which would welcome your interest and efforts.
For singing is a way of weeping in the soul, like the rain, like the rain. If waters every root of hope have ever known, so I can touch my world with love once again.
Now, we don't have printed announcements this week, but I think Pam is online.
Do you want to give that?
If Pam could speak to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure why the announcements didn't get printed. It's just the standard ones. Thanks for masking in the sanctuary. And the brunch, reminders about the brunch.
And then Joe was, as the leader of the search committee, was going to speak about our new minister. Oh, I thought it was Joe. Yeah, you'll have to turn it on.
Yeah, so we actually do have a new minister. His name is Ben Robbins, and Mary Lou and Amy and Angela. Anybody else? were on the search. Linda was on the search committee. They did tireless work. We all did tireless work, and we were able to secure a minister. The contract was signed. It's done, and he is starting on August 15. And he actually sent a message which went out to UUCH, but UU Info, but I think lots of people didn't necessarily get it. So I'll read it for you. So he said, Ben said, "Hello, UUCH. I am so glad to be joining you. My wife, Tanya, and I are about to start a retreat in the high desert, so for now, I will simply say that I have enormous respect for your history, enormous respect for those of you I have already met, and enormous respect for your vision as the world enters a future full of both challenge and opportunity. I look forward to knowing you deeply, sharing life, and doing the work of UU ministry." Ben.
And you can find bunches of him on YouTube if you want to see him in action. He's there. Ben Robbins. B-I-N-S-R-O-B-B-I-N-S.
Yes. So for the Zoom people, there's suddenly chatter.
Oregon, where he's been doing interim ministry, but he is a Canadian.
So just to summarize that, there's a lot of information about Ben Robbins online, and Linda has told us that he is actually a Canadian, although he's been working in the US now? For a couple of years. Right. I think he's also been in Peterborough. I understood that people, congregations from Peterborough know of him. And I think he was at the 2018 Hamilton CUC conference receiving a funding for his theological studies. There was somebody there called Ben at that. It was this tall, really pleasant young man who was one of the ones who got the funding from the CUC that was announced at that event. I think that was him.
Greater and lesser amounts of hair.
He has, yes, and he's had greater and lesser amounts of hair, depending which picture you look at.
What's his age range?
He's youngish.
50-ish, that's young.
Oh, that's young.
50-ish? Oh, okay. I thought he was younger. Maybe he's not the same guy. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Pam's daughter knew him at Unicamp?
Yes.
Oh. He must be
Well,
older
he
than
wa-
Pam's daughter.
No, yeah, he worked at there. He worked at Unicamp, and he's sort of been around Unicamp off and on. But yes, he's quite a bit older. You can, work at places and be, huge decades apart in age. But Arden remembers him from when she was in youth group, and he was involved. I think he was a youth advisor at Kingston then.
So he's obviously got a history in Canada, so that's great.
Yep.
And we can look forward to August. Our final congregational song this morning, one of our favorites, number 1064, Blue Boat Home. If you could rise if you're able.
Stand or sit, whatever you feel comfortable with. Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. Wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat. Oh, sun my sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the star always do that so beautifully.
It's a lovely song. If you'd like to recite it again, Leslie now has closing words for us, and I'll extinguish the chalice.
As you leave this place and go about the week ahead, keep these words in mind. They're written by Ashley Horan and have been slightly adapted. And she begins with this question: how is it with your soul? This is the question that John Wesley, Anglican priest and the founder of Methodism, was known to ask participants in small reflective groups. I ask you because for me, this has been a hard week. This is Ashley, right? Not me personally. Ashley is having a hard week. So, how is it with your soul? If your response to that question is anything like mine, I invite you to pause and take a deep breath. Maybe close your eyes if that would help. And take in a big breath and slowly let it out. Feel the force of gravity pulling us all towards the same center. Let's do that again. Breathe. And now hear this. You are loved beyond belief. You are enough. You are precious. Your work and your life matter. And you are not alone. You are a part of a we, a great cloud of witnesses, living and dead, who have insisted that this beautiful broken world of ours is a blessing, worthy of both deep gratitude and fierce protection. Our ancestors and our descendants are beckoning us, compelling us onward toward greater connection, greater compassion, greater commitment to one another and to the earth. Together, we're resilient and resourceful enough to say yes to that call, to make it our life's work in 1,000 different ways, knowing that we can do no other than bind ourselves more tightly together and throw ourselves into the holy work of showing up again and again. We are part of building that world of which we dream, but which we have not yet seen.
And now our closing song, Here Together.
Okay, let's get you all dancing, standing, singing loud. Let's get you going through the week with a little happiness here. 1, 2, 3. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. We have spent time together, and these holy moments give us strength to go down the winding road until we meet again. And my prayer for you is a peace that's true until we meet again.
Good morning, everyone. We can chat now. I think it's okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, my
How are you, Pam?
Oh, not bad. You know, I had a